your table of contents, I want you to go ahead and write 8.3c, dilations on a coordinate plane. And all this means is we're going to be working on graphs. So you should have this notes page. You can get it from the Friday drawer if you don't have it. We're going to go ahead and start filling in some notes. So to dilate a figure, we already know that when we dilate a figure, let me zoom in a little bit. It's a little blurry, sorry guys. When we dilate a figure, we're multiplying it by a scale factor, and it changes the size. So we have an original figure, and then we dilate it to either make it grow or make it shrink. So when you're dilating a figure, you're going to multiply. This is very important because when you get to multiple choice questions, you are going to see questions that have adding and subtracting or dividing. You want to make sure you take those off because you're only multiplying. It's only ever going to be multiplying. So multiply x and the y values of each ordered pair by the given scale factor. Okay. Describe what should happen if the scale factor is greater than 1. If it's greater than 1, we are going to enlarge, which means it grows. If it is less than 1, we are going to reduce, which means it shrinks. So now what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a dilation. So this is our original figure. So on this side of the table, you're going to write original. Another word that you can write is pre-image. Sometimes we use old as well. Okay? So A, B, C, D is our original. So I'm going to write A, B, C, D. And then on this side, we're going to have our new. And instead of calling it pre-image, we call this one just image. So pre-image is the original, image is the new. So we're going to go ahead and write down the points. What we're being asked is to dilate. Remember, again, that means multiply. So we know we're going to be multiplying. Nothing difficult. The rectangle shown by a scale factor of 1/3. Record the coordinates in the table. I want you to get used to seeing your fractions as your scale factor, because when we're working with scale factor, most of them will be fractions unless they are a whole number. You will rarely see decimals. They'll always be in fractions. So try to keep them in fraction form when you use them. Okay, so I'm going to start with A. I'm just going to write down what A is. And A is -6, 3. B is 6. You'll see that these numbers kind of repeat a lot. 6, 3. C is 6, -3. And D is -6, -3. And now we're going to go ahead and dilate the figure to create our new image. So all that means is in order to dilate point A, I have to multiply it by my scale factor. So if it tells me to dilate, I have to use my scale factor and multiply. So when we had A, now we're going to have A prime. This is not an apostrophe. It looks like an apostrophe, but we call this prime. This is how we describe the new image. It should have a little apostrophe there, and you just call it prime. A prime. So to find my first point, I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So all I'm going to do is do 1 divided by 3. Oops, not 6, 3. And then I'm going to put my multiplication side. Make sure when you're at the 3, you hit the arrow, like your next button, or you can go here. That way it takes you out of the fraction, and then just multiply by whatever you're multiplying it by. So in this case, I'm multiplying my scale factor of 1/3 by -6, which will give me -2. Don't forget the negative point. Then I'm going to erase the 6, the -6, and multiply by 3, which gives me 1. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot this point. So from A, I am now at A prime, which is -2, 1. So this is my new And I'm going to label it A prime. That's my new point. Now I'm going to do B prime. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 1/3 times 6. That gives me 2, comma, 3 times 1/3 gives me 1. And I'm going to go ahead and write that point down too. So I'm going to be at 2, comma, 1. So 2, 1. And that is B prime. So now I'm going to do 6. So I'm at C prime now. So make sure you write that point. So that gives me 2, comma, -3, which will be 1. Now I'm going to do D prime. Oh, hang on, let me plot this point. That's 2, comma, -1. So right here, C prime. Make sure you're writing the dot, the little apostrophe, because if not, you don't know that this figure has changed. You have to make sure you're writing that so you remember that it has changed. Okay, so I'm going to do -6, which will give me -2, comma, and then now -3, which gives me -1. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot my point. It's at -2, comma, 1. And that is D prime. So now I'm just going to connect my dots, and I can see my original, and here is my new. So this is my pre-image, this is my image. So we are going to go ahead and write a couple of things. You're going to write, how can you compare the pre-image to the image? So I'm going to give you a sentence stem, and I just want you to fill in the rest. Before dilating, the pre-image was, oh sorry, not before, should say after. After dilating, the pre-image was blank than the, what do we call the new? Okay, if we use pre-image, make sure you're using the correct word for the new one, which would be image. So I just gave you part of it. And then why did your image enlarge or reduce? So we know it enlarged, not enlarged, reduced. So we're going to write the image reduced because the blank, make sure you're using your academic vocabulary, was, and then blank, fill in the rest. Come show me this when you are done, and you are going to go ahead and dilate some more figures on the back and write their new points. I went ahead and changed these to triangles so that you would only have 3 points for each, so there is an extra line here. You just need to ignore that when you are plotting your new points. Let me know if you need any help.